Hello and welcome back. Sorry for the delay since my last video. It's a mix of real life getting in the way and also my computer decided that it was going to end of life one of its disks. It was the boot disk, luckily, not the data disk, so it was doing increasingly not quite so soft failures. So it meant backing everything up, buying a new disk, installing that. Anyway, Postman took a while to deliver. There was snow, possibly an attack of Yetis. It's all back together now. It's taken me most of Sunday in and around kids to get all the cables and software updates and blah. And here I am. So what I was working on just before my computer went pop was an improved system for walls around my base in a box. And I kind of got myself down a dead end with that. Luckily I didn't record it, so you didn't see the mess I was making. I made a rail book around Christmas time for my outpost map. And that was a 2x2, so 4-lane rail based around 5 electric poles. So what I did was resurrected that rail book, made a set of 2-lane variants, and then built walled versions of the 2-lane variants. So what I'm going to show you today is that rail blueprint book. Maybe talk through a bit of how I built it and why I made choices I made. So this is the book, and we will start off at the beginning. Okay, so this is our 4-lane, so 2 port, 2 starboard rails, and this is exactly what you would expect. So I'm just going to add in some power here so that things don't flash, because flashing things when you don't ask them to flash is annoying. And I'll run up some power the other side because we may end up needing that. Okay, there we are. Okay, so cunningly, this box in the concrete you can see is exactly 5 power cables square. So that's what we're building around. So just have a look, let's zoom in on this. So it's got the red-green wire. The lights are positioned above and below, and there's a good gap between the rails. I know some people scrunch them up as far as you can possibly scrunch them. I definitely could have brought them in tighter. I find that when you do that, then it becomes very difficult to build intersections. So for the sake of my intersections not melting my head, I spaced everything out. And to be honest, by the time you're building 4-lane rails, you're already at the stage where space isn't really an issue. So I'm not going to get worried by it. Part of the reason for putting the lights above and below is so that you can drop in equipment either side of them. There isn't really room above or below, but there is side by side. So we can drop in a... There you are, let's find this. So there's a radar. Okay. And this radar covers more than these 5 rails. It covers another couple of electric poles in each direction. Okay. Let's pull that up and put it right on the end just to illustrate. Okay. So this radar on the end is covering up to about there. So we could go out to, yeah, that's how far out you would go with your next radar to get 100% coverage. So it's about every 2.5 of these 5 rails you need a radar. Let's kill that. Okay. So that's it with the straight segment, and I'm just going to show you quickly how they tile, because that's the fun thing. Okay, so if you look on... Sorry, I'm having mouse issues here. Right, sorry, I had keyboard and input things all gone a bit strange. Let's kill off that copy because it doesn't help us anymore. There it is. There it's gone. All right, let's try it again. All right. So if you look on the end here, we have signals this end, and this is the direction where trains are coming from. Remember, we're right-hand drive. There's no signals here. And if we go to the opposite end, we have signals down here and not up here. And the reason for this is because then you can take another segment and drop it down on the end, and where they join, you get a complete set of signals. So that's quite nice. And it's done on the incoming, because once you start gluing together junctions, it is the incoming lane which normally needs to make the decision about whether it requires a signal or a chain signal. So it turns out that it's the incoming side which needs to control its type of signal, not the outgoing side. So that's the straight rail. Let's nuke that, and we will try the next one in the book. Okay, so the straight rail is followed by the straight rail with lane swaps. Now, again, I've done something slightly different from normal here. The usual thing to do with lane swaps is to have a curvy X. There's a bad pun in there somewhere. So, so you do something like this, where that's it. Well, I haven't got the spacing for that quite right, but you get the idea. So you've got a cross. What I've found is the problem with this cross is that it's almost impossible to signal it so that you can get full throughput on both lanes. Typically when a train is going through, it either blocks the other line, or if a train starts to cross over, it blocks a disproportionate amount of both lines. And the reason for this is because the cross, you're controlling both the train that's potentially trying to swap down the lane and the train which is potentially trying to swap up the lane. So if you just separate out the S's by a decent length, then you can signal them properly and space them apart. And a train which is barreling through here can keep going until or unless a train starts coming up here. And similarly, if a train is going down here, by the time the back of it has got onto this segment, the next train can go on behind it. So this arrangement has much better throughput, at least from my playing around in the sandbox with trains that I'm dragging around, or little toy station start stops. Okay, so we've got our lane swap, and these are the individual swaps. So sometimes you want to drop in just a single swap rather than the full everything to everywhere. These are the little templates for that. Okay, so following that, we have this one. And this, of course, can be rotated. There you are. That's the rotated version. Okay, so this takes you from 4 lanes coming in this way down to 2 lanes, and then takes you from 2 lanes coming in this way out to 4 lanes. And it rotates. So you can go 4 to 2, 2 to 4. And if you really want to, I don't know quite why you would want to do this, you can overlay them. There you go. And there you've got something which compresses down to 2 lanes and then back out to 4. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but it's just to show that the blueprints do actually work. And this basically overlays with this guy. There's a signal difference somewhere, so it doesn't drop down over the top, prevents you doing stupid things. It's the 2 signals on the S to the left. But yeah, you can see how basically they're all taken off the same template. Okay, those can go. And next, this monstrosity. Okay. This is worth talking about for a couple of minutes. So this is the 4-lane to 4-lane crossroads. And the intuition is that it's built around taking the 4-lane long segment horizontally, then put it down vertically, then add in the extra lanes necessary to turn us left and right from wherever you're standing. The power pole in the middle, I've given four lights. That makes everything rotationally symmetrical. So if we take this and we can rotate it, we can just keep on rotating it. There you are. It's absolutely perfectly rotated. So how does this work? Remember, we're right-hand drive, so we're going to come in here or here. Either here or here. So then we go through a Gorgon's nest of chain signals, and what this basically does is make sure that no train enters into here until it can get through this rat's nest. Then we've got some real signals as you exit the rat's nest. So that means if the train can make progress, it will make progress. Similarly, coming out, we've got some real signals. Oh, that's coming out and going left as opposed to coming out and going right. Yeah. So these are the exit lines. So these are chain signaled coming in, chain signaled all the way through. So by the time you've got a train here and it's got a green light, it's going to leave the whole junction. Okay. Then for the sides, so let's say we come in here and we are going to turn left or we are going to turn right. So you would turn left, you would pass this normal signal and then head up towards this chain signal. And that chain signal would only let you out if you could get out of the Gorgon's nest. And I've made these lines kinky rather than straight lines so that you can always fit a 1+4 train on here. So if a train ends up needing to park because it can't get all the way through the junction, if it's a 1-4 train, it will park up in here, let other traffic go through before it continues. So the first version of this I made, everything internally was chain signals, and I kept finding that you had too much contention. Basically the entire intersection had to be empty before anything happened. Doing it this way, you can have trains coming in at the bottom, going left and right, without blocking anything, going in different directions until they actually need to use the same bit of track. Okay, so then trains coming up. So the train would come up and pass this real signal to here. Now there's not enough room to get a 1+4 train in, so this train would then block up part of this rail. However, because it's blocking this rail and everything is chain signaled, this rail, and this rail are still free, and traffic onto this line is still free, and traffic out on these two lines is still free, even though this would be blocking partway down here. So it's only blocking the one chunk of track. So then that's a chain signal, then you pass all the way through the middle, it's just one big block here, right? I did think of putting in, oh actually I'm missing chain signals there, sorry, that's a copy-paste error, I will fix that. So then you would make it through, then you'd have the same issue here, so you would park here until you could get out. So again, you might block up part of the inside when you're doing that, but it's still better for throughput than waiting for chain signals the whole way through, where basically you'd only be able to get one train in at a time. Okay, so there's a bit of a mistake here with the signaling. Let's just fix that while we watch. So there. I've got a feeling to make this rotate nicely, there's going to be some things where I need things to be systematically not symmetric. Right, and then we'll do, anyway, I'll fill in this later. You don't need to watch me do it on camera, but that's basically what you do. We then add chain signals for the horizontals as well. Then the whole thing would behave better. Okay, let's kill that one. This is a bit of a monster. If you place this down with your personal roboports, expect to do some recharging. Okay, so this is the T-junction based off of that. There we are. So you'll see a pattern with these things. The power pole which corresponds to the center of the four-way T-junction, sorry, the four-way crossroads, has 4 lights. So there we are. So this is 4 lanes horizontal, 4 lanes coming in from the bottom. You can go left or right from the bottom. And although these are just straight, these ones are kinked. The reason for that is that this is long enough to carry 2, well, probably even 3, but 2 1+4 trains. This is kinked so that you can definitely fit 2 1+4 trains. There you are. There's one that fits there, one that fits there. The reason for this is really with an eye to, in the future, if you're using bigger trains, so 2/8 or 242, for example, there's enough space in here to be able to get them through the junction without them overhanging. So yeah, that's that one. Okay, and this is a variant on that. This has 4 lanes going left to right, and then they feed into 2 lanes on the bottom. So this is where you want to pull off 2 lanes from a 4-lane highway. Again, it's all signaled so that you can fit 1+4 trains on all of the extra segments, or 2 of them for the horizontals. So this is a signal, this is the corresponding chain signal. You can see there's plenty of room on there to fit a 1+4 with a bit of extra space for if you expand out. So that one's typically done with quite a straightforward straight line T, but I've done it this way just for the extra space. Okay. And after that, this one's quite boring. This is a corner. So rather than turning the corner with a T-junction or with the full cross, this is just a simple, stupid go around the corner. Notice I've centered it on this pylon here. It means later on, if you come to decide you didn't want a corner, that you wanted a T or you wanted a crossroads, you have the anchor point to do this. There's not going to be any bits where the track sort of doesn't quite fit anymore. Okay, so that's it for the 4 lanes. So here's your 2-lane straight, and the 4-lane straight didn't have signals in the center. The 2-lane straight does. You're more likely to be using this with shorter trains and possibly over shorter distances. So there we go. And this is useful when you're building out. Here we are with the 2-lane version. Let's slap that down. And just to prove to you that it tiles, there we are. And that it tiles when you rotate. Yep, there it does. Okay, so this is the same track width as before. So if we took, for example, the 4-2 2-lane T-junction, you could slap that onto the end of it and everything would work fine. Here's the 4-lane T. So here, instead of working on a 5-pylon build, we're working on a 3-pylon build. And you should be aware of this. So if you've built your dinky little 2-rail network around 3 pylons, obviously there's going to be an out of sync counting type thing going on to get it up to 5 or 10 or 15 or something, so that things all line up. Not really a problem because we can do those little short segments of 3 pylons to bump up the edges. Okay. A T-junction, a corner. Notice these have the 4 lights. They behave well under rotation, like all the others of these, and they will overlay on the 4-track versions. At least they'll lay out over the same pylon layout. Okay, so let's kill off those. And here we are. This is where the fun starts. Right. So with artillery, it suddenly becomes interesting to build rail-fed perimeter walls. And perimeter walls which have artillery stations, self-repairing with roboports, and all that kind of fun stuff. So this is the bridgehead module. Let's stamp that down so you can see what's going on. Now, the idea of this is that you would almost certainly have some rail coming in from below. So you'd pull a rail out from the center of your base, you'd go out, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 pylons. When you were out at the distance that you wanted to make a stand, you would stamp this down. So then your artillery train can come in the bottom, scoot around here, park up here. The first wagon is going to offload your ammo onto this belt, which will feed right and left, port and starboard. Then your artillery wagon is the second one. It would carry 100 things in its magazine. That can then fill up this box, which fills up this static artillery, and you can say hello to the natives. Let's just delete these off their surplus to requirement. And then this is wired so that this station is active if either this box for the artillery or this box for the wall is empty, basically. So while there is ammo in hand, this is off, it's self-sustaining. Then it will pop up once one of these two runs dry, your wagon comes out. The first carriage replenishes the ammo, the second one is your artillery, replenishes this, and then your third one, if you want to set it up that way, is materials for maintaining and building out this wall. Yeah, so that's about it really. That's fairly straightforward. So this is ugly, but the idea is that the bridgehead, you should be able to get a train in, offload the stuff you need, get the train back out into base to pick up more supplies. Because it's typically going to take 5 or 10, well, 3 or 4 stocks to load up enough ammunition to power all these. Okay, so that's fine as the bridgehead. It's overkill for most of the time. So what do we have instead? So this is the normal artillery station. So it's exactly the same thing, but without the T-junction to feed it. So it's got turning places, so that if this gets recharged, the train can then find a quick route back to where it came from to fill back up. If you named all of these stations with the same name, then your replenishing artillery wagon would typically only have one of these stations which was live at any time. So it would just come out, fill that one up, turn around, go home. Okay, then there's a third variant on this, which is the straight artillery with no turning place. It's just there to be a boom. No turning around. So this is the one you would tend to use if you were naming your stations, you know, wall north 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then setting up a wagon to visit all of those in turn. So you would just chain them all together, one after the other. This is the nice simple one for that. Okay, so let's kill these off. Don't need that, and don't need that. And we don't need that. Okay. Oh, notice these have a radar. It's the only one which does have a radar because the widths of the radar don't match the widths of the pylons, so there's no obvious way to sync them up. I might fix that later, but I haven't so far. Apologies for the noises. Somebody loves me apparently. Okay, so this is the next one. This is a wall to right. So this tiles on there. If you overlap the power pole, there we are. Brilliant. So that is one segment to the right. That's extended out your wall of guns. And at that point, you could do one of two things. You could slap down another one of these. So make that's it. That does line up. Yep, that works fine. Or you could decide you want another one of these artillery stations. Right. So this is the same thing, but extends out to the left. And as long as you click rather than shift clicking, as long as you just click, it'll only let you place them down as they tile. Now notice here we have a roboport. We've got extra roboports in this from what you would need for coverage. But what that does mean is this roboport network extends out to the left. And it's a bit confused here because we've got a super roboport. But you can see there's an orange line here. That's as far as this logistics extends. So the construction goes over the edge, but the logistics only goes that far. And this becomes important in a minute. Okay, so we've got this out to the left. Right, so what we could do now is, here is a right segment. And we will line the power poles up. There. Great. So this right segment, oh, we've got an issue here with a signal. We will fix that in a minute. So this right segment goes right up to where the left segment is. There's actually one gun in the gap, but I doubt that would be the thing that would kill you. And then these two roboports don't touch, right? So you would have another station here, another artillery here. Okay, so this artillery has the roboports which are going to look after this, and then that's the end of that roboport segment. So then we're onto a new network here, which is being maintained by this. So you can just grow this out as far as you feel comfortable growing it. Okay, let's chew this back. I'm going to do it bit by bit because I think otherwise we might lose roboport range, because I think some of these roboports are actually helping build this thing. Yeah, I've chewed it back too quick. Oh well, never mind. How sad. Let's do it one at a time. Okay, now we're into the super roboport range, and I think we can just nuke that. Yeah. Okay, so what's the next wall component? So we've done the wall to the right, wall to the left. Ah, this is a fun one. Okay, so this is a wall that extends out to the right and contains a T-junction going out. So this allows you to then there we are. Now you can go off and explore the world. So you've got a nicely secured bit of rail through your perimeter wall off into the wilds. The biters will love you and no doubt do horrible things to your electric poles when you're not looking. Okay, let's take that up. And of course there's a corresponding wall to the left. So you'll have noticed here the wall to the right and wall to the left are asymmetric. They sort of don't overlap this box exactly. That is to make everything tile correctly and to make sure things tile the correct way and don't tile the incorrect way. Okay, and then lastly, my favorite piece, because this took an entertaining amount of time to design, the corner. And I'm going to place this in a slightly funny place. Okay, let's put this up here. And there's a good reason for this. It's not just that I want to use the whole map. Okay, this is your corner piece. This is built around a crossroads. So you can extend up out this way or out this way and go off to explore. But if you notice, there's a roboport here that covers the whole area and it's not symmetric. It's not located to cover everything. The reason for this is that we do this on purpose. So here's a pointing that way segment. Let's put this one down. Okay, so you probably wouldn't want to put a T-junction there, but this joins up to be a single network. Now let's join this one on. And notice, once that's built, okay, so this network is totally separate from this network. So even though we've got a corner, we've made sure that the roboport networks don't line up. Okay, and you can see that this does really tile. Let's see if we can throw this all the way down. Sorry, I couldn't remember the key press there. Let's try again. Right, so I want to do this with a plain artillery. Then I'd like a right here. Then I'd like a left. This is going to need an artillery. Let's make it the bridgehead so that we can supply. Okay, and then from the bridgehead I would like to go straight into a corner. And this, so let's just prove it. So here we are. Okay, there we are. And then I would like an artillery station there. And then I would like to go straight into a corner from there. Okay, and this corner is going to need to be fed ammo. Let's do one of those. And another of those. And let's do a tourney artillery. Okay. And let's extend the wall out here. And again. Right, this is going to need a train station. And I think that means what we need here is a corner. And what are the odds this will match up? You are shitting me. That's actually worked. Okay, so here we are. And let's go up here. This is our bridgehead. Let's suggest we came down. Let's not go down that far. That's a bit crazy. Okay, and we're going to go around a corner. And into a nice big four-way junction, which can't go anywhere because, you know, there's not enough space inside these walls for this sort of thing. And then, so if we look here, you see this actually lines up. So this four-way bit of track is lining up with the electric pole at the top. I'll stamp it down. Obviously, this is not something you'd ever want to do. But it's just to show that everything is on a grid. Okay. So in a couple of minutes, I mean, obviously in the real world you need bots and stuff like that, but in a couple of minutes we built this whole perimeter just from this blueprint book. So I'm really quite pleased with that. So I've got a bit of work to do with fixing the remaining signaling glitches. But when I've done that, I will upload a Factorio prints and put it in the description of this video. I'd love you to have a go with this, see if they work for you, see if the signaling works, because I'm not sure I've got that quite right. See if they really do tile for you in all the appropriate combinations, because again, I'm not absolutely sure if they will or not. But that's it really. So thank you very much for listening. I've had a lot of fun making this blueprint book. I'm hoping somebody else gets some fun out of using it. Bye.